At number 95 on the iconic 100 list is the 1998 Contenders Peyton Manning card. And here to talk with us about this card today is Ty, or at Drummond Card Collector on Instagram. Ty, it's great to have you. I know that you're a big football guy. Tell us what you think about where this Contender Mannings comes in at number 95.
Yeah, so I actually did not have this card in my top 75. So obviously we voted on the 75 most important cards, most iconic cards, I should say, to us. I didn't have this card in my top 75. It's not surprising to me that this landed where it did in the top 100. I certainly think a case can be made for it. When I went through this process, I started with number one and worked my way down the list. And it was a huge thing to kind of go back and forth. But one of the things that I did was I had a really hard time justifying putting multiple cards for the same player before getting other really important players into the list. And so the way I approach this in terms of iconic is the card needs to be easily recognizable to the masses. I think it needs to have historical importance, whether it's the set, the specific card itself, something about it, and then the player's relevance and their sort of rank in terms of all-time greatness. So I had Manning's, you had to, as another option, the SP Authentic base card. I thought that one, being a little more ubiquitous, was more iconic. This Contenders, playoff Contenders auto, I think stated print run of a 200, very rare card. They don't come up for sale often. You don't find a lot of them. And so in that regard, I had the same thought process with a number of other cards on the list too. I was just thinking, this is a great card. If you said like a highly sought after card, a very important card, I would say, yes, this tops the list. When you talk about football, the Contenders autos are the ones that people go after. Personally, just in terms of personal preference, I'm not a huge fan of the Contenders product and the brand. I didn't necessarily, I don't think, let that impact my opinion about where this ranks in terms of being iconic. But I just think this is the set that people go after. And it's specific in football. You have Contenders now in basketball, but people don't talk about it. They go after it. You got the Contenders and the Contenders optic. But for football, this is a massively important set. Obviously, you've got the Tom Brady, and then tracing all the way up until now, that's what people go after. I think it's got that look and feel and the aesthetic of a game ticket, obviously. And people like that. It's like, I'm going to the football stadium and I've got the autographed ticket stub here with the player on it. I actually, if you were to stack up Manning's cards, it wasn't on the list of available choices. I thought the Chrome rookie card is actually more so even than either one of these cards. But I did have that SP Authentic at number 48 on my list. I think when you look at a player like Peyton Manning, it really was not until Manning retired and Tom Brady went on to do all of the ridiculously incredible things that he's done since Manning exited the league, that anybody even said Tom Brady's definitively better than Peyton Manning was. It's like, that's where the gap closed. And that's part of the interesting conversation too, I think, as we look at the rest of the career for Steph Curry and LeBron James. Where are those guys going to finish in terms of titles and things and accolades that could take a similar trajectory where the gap may close, at least between Curry and LeBron. But Manning, critically important player. I used to always say I'd take him as my quarterback over Brady every time. I don't know if I'd have the audacity to say that now, because Brady obviously just wins in the biggest games. In fact, I wouldn't say that, but I loved watching Peyton Manning, and he's definitely one of the greatest quarterbacks, probably top 3 of all time.
You bring up a number of awesome things that I think we need to cover real quick. But the first of which is, as you mentioned these different iconic and important Manning cards, not wanting to list a second one until you list other cards that are important. I love that approach to the list. I'm not sure that's how everybody approached it. I think most people probably didn't approach it that way, but I respect it and I get it. And I think the thing that it like leads me to think about is players sometimes have a clear cut, most recognizable, most important, and most iconic card, right? But sometimes players don't. And the cards can actually fight against each other. The perfect example for this to me is the Steph Curry. For Steph Curry, you've got the National Treasures and you've got the Chrome, and clearly they're very different price points, but you ask different collectors about which one is more recognizable, which one's more iconic. You're going to get a lot of people on either side of that line. It's not clear at this point. Maybe it will become clear, but the card's 12, 13 years old at this point, and it's not. Manning's maybe a little bit like that as well, especially where the Contenders brand, as you talked about, where it has really like become the clear-cut Tom Brady card, the multi-million-dollar sale card. You know, it's the card. I think that's elevated other Contenders cards. And so, to be honest, I'm not shocked to see this card end up on the list. Your call on the chrome Peyton Manning is a great call. You know, that's one that I think some other people would probably have liked to see on the list. The problem is it's just so hard to have a good starting point. We could have started with 1,000 cards, and that was one that I think a few people really felt like probably didn't have any chance of making the top 100. But it's good to hear your take that maybe you would have had it higher. Well, Ty, I appreciate your take on the card number 95, the Contenders Peyton Manning rookie card. Next time we'll be back with card number 94 tomorrow. And until then, happy collecting.